Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. My name's Jeremy Leffler, and I work in the policy office at the National Science Foundation. And it's my pleasure to welcome you this afternoon for our final week of the NSF Virtual Grants Conference. Before we begin, we're going to take a quick poll to find out a little bit more about you. If you're using Zoom from a desktop browser, you may not be able to access the poll. And for best results, we suggest that you view this presentation from the Zoom application. If you attended the first week of the Grants Conference, you know that this conference is taking place over 2 weeks with two sessions per day, and the content for this series is similar to what it would be for an in-person Grants Conference. All of the sessions have been pre-recorded, and we will be taking live Q&A. For information about the sessions, the presentations, and our speakers, please visit the conference website. If you have questions, please do use the Q&A function in Zoom. We're encouraging attendees to upvote questions. And to upvote a question, you navigate to the Q&A function and click on the thumbs up button. And this will bring the most popular questions to the top of the Q&A window. We are answering your questions as they come in, and we will continue to answer questions live at the conclusion of the presentation. This session is also being recorded, and it will be made available on our website at nsfpolicyoutreach.com in the coming weeks, and we'll send an email announcement as soon as those sessions have been posted. If you have any technical difficulties during the presentation, please use the Q&A function and someone will assist you. I want to thank you for participating in the poll. We're happy that you can join us, and as this is our first ever virtual grants conference. And I want to remind you to please be on the lookout for survey emails so that you can provide feedback on how this has been going. We'll hope that you enjoy this session and all of the sessions that you choose to attend. And I'm now pleased to present this session on the NSF Convergence Accelerator. And this session will be covered by Dr. Douglas Maughan from the NSF Office of Integrative Activities.
Good afternoon. My name is Douglas Maughan, and I'm the office head for the NSF Convergence Accelerator. The Convergence Accelerator resides within the Office of the Director and works across the entire foundation with all other directorates and offices. I'm excited today to provide an update on the progress of the Convergence Accelerator. The National Science Foundation has 3 missions: to promote the progress of science, to advance the national health, prosperity, and welfare, and to secure the national defense. And NSF envisions a nation that capitalizes on new concepts in science and engineering and provides global leadership in advancing research and education. The Convergence Accelerator fully supports the mission and vision of the National Science Foundation. In 2017, the National Science Foundation released their 10 big ideas in an effort to provide a vision for research, development, education, and infrastructure that is needed for the future. For the 2019 cohort, the Convergence Accelerator initially focused on 2 of the big ideas: harnessing the data revolution and the future of work at the human technology frontier. What these 2 ideas had in common was that the research communities had displayed readiness to take some of their best ideas and put them into practice. The 2020 cohort is focused on 2 topics that were highlighted in the administration's Industries of the Future: artificial intelligence and quantum technology, which is also associated with the quantum leap big idea. NSF and the scientific community are using convergence to define a future where researchers from across disciplines intentionally collaborate to solve grand challenges of national importance. One of the core activities of the Convergence Accelerator is the merging of ideas, approaches, and technologies from widely diverse fields. We are seeing more and more examples of multidisciplinary research being done, and we're promoting this idea as critical for solutions to our national problem. In February 2019, the National Science Foundation created the NSF Convergence Accelerator to leverage all fields of science and engineering to produce practical deliverables in an accelerated timeframe, with an agile project management approach that is suited for accelerating promising solutions. We consider the Convergence Accelerator to be a consumer of the basic research funded by other directorates at NSF and within the research community. The NSF Convergence Accelerator is a new organizational structure within NSF to accelerate the transition of use-inspired convergence research into practice and build team capacity around exploratory, high-risk projects in the identified technical tracks. The Convergence Accelerator will focus on use-inspired research and education and leverage multidisciplinary teams. And we will partner with industry, nonprofits, and others to get access to their practical requirements, challenges, and resources. Each Convergence Accelerator project will have clear goals, milestones, and deliverables to ensure consistent progress. The Convergence Accelerator will be managed differently than most NSF programs. Program directors will work with the individual teams within the cohort so they are cooperating within their track, but also competing to produce the best results possible. While all the teams in a cohort will be focused on a common research goal, they may be pursuing different approaches to achieve it. This tactic will help us stimulate innovation by encouraging as many ideas as possible in pursuit of practical deliverables. Each team will also have an innovation coach, a mentor, to help them throughout the process. The Convergence Accelerator also performs many surveys over the course of the activities. The results of these surveys will allow us to learn as much as we can and apply it to future cohorts of the Convergence Accelerator. The Convergence Accelerator program structure consists of 3 parts. The first part is the ideation phase, which consists of a Dear Colleague letter with a request for ideas for future tracks. Some of the ideas that are received are selected for subsequent workshops. In 2019, we hosted 9 workshops, and the outcomes of some of those workshops became the content for the NSF 20-565 solicitation. We've just completed 12 workshops in 2020 that will become the content for the 2021 solicitation, which will be published within the next couple of months. And I'll give you more details on those in future slides. The second part of the program structure is phase 1. Over a 9-month period, the teams participate in an innovation curriculum that consists of team science, human-centered design, user and customer discovery, communications, and other innovation activities. At the end of the 9 months, the phase 1 teams submit a phase 2 proposal and also pitch to a panel of experts for this additional support to build out their prototypes and try them out in practice. The third part of the program structure is phase 2. A smaller number of teams will be selected based on their written proposal and their pitch to the expert panel, and will receive a cooperative agreement award for an additional 2 years of funding to execute and deliver the accelerated results. The combination of the written proposal and the pitch will determine the team selected to proceed to phase 2. This slide shows an overall timeline for the program for 2019 through 2022. We're at the orange bar about 1/3 of the way across the page. The teams from the 2019 cohort, tracks A and B, are just starting phase 2. The 2020 cohort also just started and are expected to participate in phase 1 over the next 9 months. As I mentioned, we just completed 12 workshops, and we're in the review process now that will determine the tracks for the 2021 cohort later this year. And we've also released a Dear Colleague letter request for ideas for the 2022 cohort. And I'll explain each of these cohorts in more detail. In March of 2019, the Convergence Accelerator published its first Dear Colleague letter based on two of the big ideas: harnessing the data revolution and the future of work at the human technology frontier. 3 tracks were selected from these two big ideas. In September of 2019, the inaugural cohort of the Convergence Accelerator was selected. NSF awarded 43 awards in 19 states and the District of Columbia. These 43 teams participated in the activities of the Convergence Accelerator between September and June of this year. These activities included the curriculum for human-centered design, team science, and user and customer discovery. They also submitted a phase 2 proposal, and they participated in a pitch panel process. In September of 2020, NSF announced the selection of 9 Cooperative Agreement Awards based on the results of the NSF Merit Review process for both the phase 2 proposal and the pitch panel review process. These teams just kicked off their phase 2 activities last month. Here's a map showing the 9 phase 2 awards that were made. You'll note that there are 5 awards for track A, Open Knowledge Networks, and 4 awards for the Future of Work tracks of AI and Future Jobs and the National Talent Ecosystem. One of these awards was made to a nonprofit organization, and the other 8 were awarded to academic institutions. One area of significant importance for NSF are the partnerships that are being developed as part of the Convergence Accelerator. The phase 1 teams start to develop these partnerships and have incorporated the industry or nonprofit partners into their phase 1 proposals. In addition, NSF is working to identify and solicit interest from other parties, especially those who might be interested in jointly funding phase 2 projects. This includes partners from industry, foundations, philanthropies, government, and others. When we talk with potential partners, we inform them that each of the phase 2 and phase 1 teams are looking for partners, especially as they consider larger teams for phase 2. We also invite potential partners to respond to our Dear Colleague letters for future topics. And when talking with potential partners, we also encourage them to participate in any of our upcoming public events, such as our Expo in 2021. Initially, the Convergence Accelerator was planning on a public event in June 2020 to showcase the results of the 2019 cohort. Given the current pandemic situation, we had to change this planned in-person event to a virtual science fair-like event. The Expo 2020 event was held in July, where each of the 43 teams had their own virtual event, presented videos and presentations about their project, and answered questions from the attendees. There were over 1,500 attendees at the 2-day event, with 26 countries represented by those in attendance. It was a very successful event and gave all of the teams an opportunity to showcase their work to date, even if it was in a virtual situation. An additional activity during the 2019 cohort phase 1 was the NSF introduction of funding for COVID-19 stimulus ideas. The Convergence Accelerator encouraged our 2019 cohort phase 1 teams to submit ideas for funding from the COVID Rapid Solicitation. One of the 13 efforts funded by the Convergence Accelerator in May of 2020 is the COVID Information Commons. The COVID Information Commons website was launched in July of 2020. The objective of this project is to create a searchable collection of all NSF-funded COVID-19 Rapid Awards as a mechanism to create collaboration opportunities for NSF-funded researchers. The project relies on voluntary self-reporting and has received data from over 150 projects to date. The website uses a clustering and visualization tool that was developed by NSF Additionally, this project has organized a webinar series as a way for NSF to share all of the COVID-19 related work with the community. Returning back to the overall timeline for 2019 to 22, I'd like to point you to the red arrow that's pointing to the 2020 cohort and its activities. The 2020 cohort was initiated with a Dear Colleague letter, which resulted in 9 workshops held in September through November of 2019. These workshop reports resulted in the 20-565 solicitation for the 2020 cohort. The NSF 20-565 solicitation included 2 tracks. Track C for quantum technology was focused on technical areas such as quantum sensing, quantum simulators, quantum interconnects, quantum architectures, and quantum workforce. There are 11 Track C teams. Pradeep Phule is the lead program director for Track C and will be working with these teams over the next 9 months. Here's a map showing the selected teams for Track C. There are 10 states represented by the selected teams, with 2 awards in Maryland. Over time, we will enlarge this map to include all of the team members, partners, and customers. Track D of the NSF 20-565 solicitation was for AI-driven innovation via data and model sharing, and was focused on technical areas such as curation and sharing of open as well as sensitive data, addressing AI issues related to privacy and data sanitization, and focusing on other AI concerns such as ethics, fairness, and bias associated with research data. There are 18 Track D teams. Michael Posmentier is the lead program director for Track D and will be working with these teams over the next 9 months. Some of the artificial intelligence concepts that are funded are in the following fields: healthcare, water management, wildfire management, civil infrastructure, cybersecurity, veterinary health, electric microgrid, and polymers. Here's a map showing the selected teams for Track D. There are 12 states plus the District of Columbia represented by the selected teams, with 2 institutions, Vanderbilt and University of California, San Diego, each receiving 2 awards. Over time, we'll also enlarge this map to include the other partners and members and customers. NSF released a press release on September 17th announcing all of these Phase 1 awards, and we expect this to be the first of many press articles about the Convergence Accelerator and the teams of the 2020 cohort. Again, returning to the overall timeline slide, the red arrow is now pointing to the 2021 cohort and its activities. The 2021 cohort was initiated with a Dear Colleague letter, 20-061, which resulted in 12 workshops held virtually from August to October of this past year. These workshops were just completed, and the workshop reports will be used to create the 2021 solicitation for the 2021 cohort. Here's a list of the 12 workshops that were just completed. You can see that we had a broad range of themes, including data science and societal impact, education, outreach and diversity, sustainability, and biotechnology and advanced manufacturing. Specific workshops were held with topics of improving online education, identifying strategies for mitigating institutional racism, privacy and data usage during a pandemic, innovation and utilization of the ocean, precision materials and systems, dealing with societal hurdles associated with carbon usage and capture, and looking at nature for solutions to grand challenges. All of these workshops were held virtually over a 2 to 3 day period and included participants from academia, industry, government, and international participants. The schedule for the 2021 cohort is outlined on this slide. As mentioned, the workshops are now complete, and the final reports will be submitted to NSF shortly. Those reports will form the technical tracks for the 2021 solicitation. We anticipate the 2021 solicitation will be released late this year or early in 2021. The preliminary proposals of 2 pages with bio sketches will be due within 45 days of release of the solicitation, and the preliminary proposals will be evaluated using traditional NSF merit review panels, and then phase 1 proposals will be invited based on the outcomes of the merit review process. We expect awards for the 2021 cohort to occur in the summer of 2021. For those of you unfamiliar with previous Convergence Accelerator activities, you can review the previous documents listed at the bottom of this slide. The 2019 cohort used NSF 19-050 and NSF 20-555 as the solicitations. The 2020 cohort used NSF 19-065 and NSF 20-565 as the Dear Colleague letter and subsequent solicitation. One more time, back to the overall timeline slide, and the red arrow is pointing to the 2022 cohort and its activities. The 2022 cohort was initiated with a Dear Colleague letter last month on October 9th. The same process will be followed, which is inviting the community to submit their ideas in response to this Dear Colleague letter. The responses to the Dear Colleague letter will be evaluated across the National Science Foundation, and those topics that meet the criteria outlined on the next slide will be selected for workshops to be held virtually in the February to May 2021 timeframe. The workshop reports will result in the 2022 solicitation, which will be published in the summer of 2021 for the 2022 cohort as outlined by this schedule. As mentioned previously, the criteria for selection of the topics that will be funded for workshops includes: 1, the topics must be deemed to be large-scale national issues that will require convergence research and multidisciplinary teams. 2, the topics must be well suited for multiple organizations, including not only academia, but industry, nonprofits, and others. And 3, the topics must result in high-impact deliverables within an accelerated time frame. Success. What does it look like? This is certainly one of the most asked questions we get, and while we have some ideas about what success looks like and how we measure it, we are still learning and evaluating and encourage you to help in this process. If you have ideas about measuring success of research and development activities, we'd love to hear from you. First, there is success at the individual project level. While we want all the teams to be successful, much of their success will be dependent on their team, their partners, and their deliverables. Second, there is success at the track level. The Convergence Accelerator has been designed to provide an environment of cooperation, not just competition. We expect teams to work together and identify ways for partnering towards joint approaches for phase 2. It's very important that we show progress at the track level. And third, there is success at the cohort level. We're just beginning the first cohort for phase 2 and the second cohort for phase 1. And as such, we have an opportunity to shape this new NSF structure for future generations. The cohorts will be successful if we bring industry, end users, and other partners to be part of the accelerator. It will also be successful if we produce physical or virtual things that can be used. Lastly, we believe the cohort will be successful based on the innovation curriculum that we're executing as part of the Convergence Accelerator. And we will continue to collect feedback throughout the timeline of the Convergence Accelerator. In summary, The NSF Convergence Accelerator is a new and exciting construct that accelerates the transition of research into practice through partnerships and highly directed teams focused on a common research goal of national importance. There is a very different pace and environment as part of the Convergence Accelerator, and we are excited about the idea of having academia, industry, nonprofits, and others working together to develop these solutions and ensure that they have significant impact for the American people. We invite you to get involved with the activities of the Convergence Accelerator. Thank you to the organizers of the NSF Grants Conference for inviting us to present this new and exciting NSF program. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for submitting some questions. Please do continue to submit your questions through the Q&A, and we'll get to them. There was a question, Doug, that I think you wanted to answer live, and it was a question that was really about the agile and fast return focus, which could push convergence and aim projects towards low-hanging fruit versus a deeper convergence for which there may be a longer view necessary. And so can you talk about whether this is how you're looking at it in the Convergence Accelerator office?
Sure, thank you, Jeremy. So we are looking at it a little differently than the question proposes. So as I mentioned in the video, we consider ourselves at the consumer end of basic research and taking the ideas further, not as far as commercialization. But when we look at the foundational basic research for convergence, we're pointing people to the growing convergence research big idea, which was one of the original 10 big ideas, and have talked many times with Dragana, who's the program director. And so where we are, because we are agile and a little bit more accelerated, we're hoping to see more outputs coming from the growing convergence research and even other basic research programs at NSF that are starting to think more about convergence. We're not looking at the accelerator to be the place where longer term, deeper convergence would happen. We're expecting the teams to come to the accelerator having had some exposure to each other and to this idea of convergence.
Okay, there's a question about the scope of convergence. Is it within the scope of the Convergence Accelerator to have a focus group on connecting sustainability with NSF funding of research at institutions? And this is specifically focusing on climate change.
We certainly believe that if you do look at the prior tracks that I mentioned, they were based on the big ideas. Even the ones in 2020 were based on some administration priorities. We certainly, as we move forward into 2021 and 2022 and beyond, the topics will be based on the research priorities of the foundation and of the administration and of the community. And so I certainly could see topics in various areas of sustainability being future topics. I think it's certainly, if you look at the potential administration, there's certainly topics in that area. Again, some of this is dependent upon the community and their responses to the RFI, but I certainly think there's, we're trying to make the accelerator broadly applicable across all directorates of the foundation.
Okay, the next question is, what are some of the most common questions you get about what convergence is and what you're looking for? What are people getting and what are they not getting?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm not sure everybody understands the convergence issue. And, I point back to the National Academy study of 2015 or 2016 as a starting point. I think we look at it in two angles as far as convergence. One is the traditional angle, which is the technical disciplines coming together. But we also look at the accelerator as a convergence environment because of the requirements for industry and nonprofits and others to come together as part of a team. And so that also brings an aspect of convergence. When we say it has to be multiple disciplines from multiple institutions and multiple types of institutions, to us, that is also an aspect of convergence that we're supporting within the accelerator and trying to push forward.
So a follow-up question then is, would you say that it is meant of a kind of translational program?
Yeah, it depends on how you define translational, but yeah, there's plenty of people that talk about the accelerator as a translational structure and translational organization.
Next question is, what are likely topics for the upcoming 2021 solicitation?
So I would encourage you to go back and look. I don't have the exact slide number, but I know these slides will be available. The topics for the topics for the 2021 solicitation will come from the workshops that were just held in the September-October timeframe.
Right, and just because we've gotten a few questions on this, the presentations do currently exist on the Policy Office Outreach website, on the conference website. So you can go there to the Resource Center and find them there. Next question is, can researchers outside of the proposal team participate in the workshops that are selected for 2021?
The 2021 workshops have already happened. You can go to the website and see the list of the workshops that were held. We're working to publish the final reports as soon as we possibly can. What I think is more valuable at this point is we just got in the list of requests for information and responses for 2022. And so we will be announcing the workshops for 2022 in the January timeframe, and people can participate in those workshops, which will be aimed at creating the content for the 2022 cohort. And that will give people that haven't submitted an opportunity to participate.
Okay, and will proposals be accepted from for-profit and non-higher education nonprofit groups, or is this geared primarily towards principal investigators in higher education?
The accelerator, if you look at the prior solicitations, we do accept submissions from not only institutions of higher education, but nonprofit and for-profit institutions. We are, as I mentioned, the requirement is it has to be a team that includes nonprofits and or industry for-profit companies, but we have and encourage and support for-profit and nonprofit organizations as the lead. While that's a little bit different for NSF and the traditional academic lead, we are certainly encouraging people to respond that are not academic institutions.
Okay, and there's a question here asking if awarded proposals are available for review. And while NSF, we're not going to make the proposal available, there is certain information that's available, including the award abstract and the PIs and the award amounts and all of that. But you can also, there are two ways that you could get access to awarded proposals. One is that there's a process through the Freedom of Information Act that you can go to NSF and request information about awarded proposals. That there's a process for that because there's a redaction process that has to take place, and that can take some time. But the other option that you have is you can look at who the award was made to, and you can go and request from the PIs if they would be willing to share their proposal with you. I don't know, Doug, if you had anything else you wanted to say about that. But
you're certainly correct, Jeremy, in that they can go out and find the abstracts from those proposals, and our press releases have included links to the NSF website that has those available. I will also point people to our program website. We just posted the videos from our expo in July, and people can now see the videos that were created by the teams that participated in the 2019 cohort, and that's now out and available. And so they're 5-minute videos produced by the teams that summarize the work that they created as part of their phase 1.
Okay, and I'm just dropping that website into the chat so folks can see that and have a link to that as well. Have most Convergence Accelerator awardees been workshop attendees?
So I'll just point to the first 2019 solicitation. There had been no workshops. It was based on the big ideas. So all of the 2019 cohort teams were not workshop attendees. I believe of the 2020, I haven't done the analysis, but I think there's probably at least over 50% of those who were awarded were not participants in the workshops.
Okay, and there's a question about a National Academies report that you referred to, and the person provided a link to a report entitled Convergence Facilitating Transdisciplinary Integration of Life Sciences, Physical Sciences, Engineering, and Beyond from 2014, and is wondering if that is the report that you were referring to.
Yeah, I believe that is the correct report.
Okay. I guess this is asking if there will be another solicitation opportunity in November 21 for 2023.
That is the current plan. You know, we are still fairly new, and we're trying to get into a rhythm, and we're trying to move things a little bit forward. What we heard from the teams in 2019 was that it would be really helpful to have the summer months in the phase 1 part of the program. So the plan is that the 2021 awards will happen in August of 2021, and the 22 awards will happen in May of 22. So we're hoping then, of course, that everything gets moved up a little bit. But yes, there will be an RFI in 2021 for the 2023 cohort and solicitation.
Okay, well, that seems to be all the questions that we've received. So, Doug, I want to thank you for your presentation and for sticking around and answering questions. I want to thank all of you for attending. And if you have a chance, we'll have 2 more sessions tomorrow. So I hope you'll get a chance to attend those. And I want to thank you all for attending, and please be well and be safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.